Hello everyone, welcome to Asteroid tournament. We are on Io, the distant moon of Jupiter, where power and fuel swings hard every time. We have Ryak, Matrasker, Bob Rooney, and Evil Diablo as our players. I'm Lahi, and casting with me is many copies. What do you think about this map? What do you see?
Well, what I see is the $200 starting electronics price, so that makes Nomads hard to play. I see down in the southwest corner an opportunity for maybe a scavenger, but that's going to be tight because you could get punished with underground nukes.
A scavenger HQ has been founded.
Evil Diablo
But
exit.
Evil Diablo is taking that risk.
An expansive HQ has been founded.
And there we go, we're seeing
A nomadic HQ has
some
been founded.
expansives, and Matty Raskar is just going to have trouble upgrading. Nice
A
resources near
scavenger
him,
HQ
but
has been upgraded.
it's going to be painful.
Usually, in the
Black
early game,
market is online.
electronics is not the early production to have. However, because almost every prices are low, like regular water, low farm, low food, low fuel, and low power, people might consider getting into this electronics factory HQ too, because there's nothing else that makes money.
Well, speaking of that, Matty Raskar is going into an electronics factory right now. However,
Expansive
Probably
HQ
have to
has
do
been
that because
upgraded.
founding Nomad in 200 electronics is not a happy thing to do.
I did that at worst game in this tournament, and it does not go well.
Yeah.
Now, here's the Bob Rooney is right next to some basalt, but yet he has not gone into a basalt platform. For those of you who are unfamiliar, basalt is put on lava and produces both silicon, iron, and uranium. And if you have one or two of those, you can run quite a bit
A
of
scavenger
your
HQ
economy
has
that
been
way.
upgraded.
As where you see Ryak is going into basalt rather than mines.
I think it
Now-
does make sense because electronics is high and building basalt platform needs 5 electronics per tile. So maybe Babruni is waiting
Nomadic
for
HQ
him
has
to
been
get
upgraded.
some money beforehand because there's not much in silicon or uranium. However, this heavy metal enabled Babruni to build double nuclear plant, which can be a good choice because there's nothing else that makes money, and when nothing else makes money, power makes money. Soon, not now, but soon.
Fair enough. And since those other mine tiles are close to his base, he can rotate them out later.
Yeah.
Which does make sense. Because there are depleting resources on Io, so eventually they'd be less good. But now, Babaruni is run out of money to buy his water with, so his plants are not working.
Oh,
Well, he's now sold and got them back there, but
that's something to micromanage until they get the power money.
An expansive HQ has been upgraded.
indeed.
Okay, Sulfur Frost is active right now, and because of that, this no,
It's actually
going
coming
to.
in 30 seconds.
Oh, it's in.
So, but Sulfur Frost is something important to note, because Rahi will tell you why.
Because when Sulfur Frost is active, your building construction time is going to be very, very painfully
An
slow.
expansive
Like
HQ has been upgraded.
Ryak is now going to build a geotherm, and it is not going to be built until the Sulfur Frost ends. I can tell. So Ryak might be in deep debt because of this missed opportunity to get into this power price. In the meanwhile,
And
Bob Rooney is very close to earning power money.
and if he
A
had noticed
scavenger
that
HQ has
earlier,
been
he could have
upgraded.
canceled out of that claim and returned that claim. Because until you actually build something on a tile, you can return it for free.
Yeah.
And so he could have done something else with that. Now, I know why he wants to stay in there is because he wants a double geo. So the geos will be adjacent to each other and boosting each other, which will be great power, especially going into the late game. But that'll be painful early. And now we see Matty Raskar, who is trying to do black magic tiles of electronics factory,
nuclear plant,
and the big thing in Off-World Trading Company is that it takes advantage of economies of scale. So things that you have adjacent to each other of the same type boost each other. So having two things adjacent to each other is like having three things. Having three things in a triangle is, I think, what is it? Do my math here. 5.25 of them. So that's why it's not working out so well for him. And also what you'll notice with Matty Raskar is he didn't claim that very high silicon. He ended up claiming lows. And that is not going to be very helpful to him.
Because no one actually contested the power market, Bob Rooney is earning power money right now. And how usually the IO game goes, because of these consumptions from the colony on water, not much right now, but consumption from the HQs and colony and from these nuclear plants, the water is high now, and the only person who's producing real water right now is Evil Diablo, making good amount of money from this, although this is not a real amount of cash they're getting, because this price displays the power profit and the water profit. Ryak, although Ryak was behind in power game, he's ahead in the HQ compared to Bob Rooney, and he's earning solid amount of money. Not so much now, but it was good when the Pleasure Dome was active.
But that was a very nice power surge, and that sometimes takes a critical thing. If you put a goon on that Pleasure Dome, while one half of that would have gotten knocked out from the power surge, it would have protected it from also going into his steel mills and protected the Pleasure Dome.
Okay, a viewer has asked a question that what type of city is this and how big difference it makes, and this one is New Amsterdam. It's a European colony, and European colony starts with chemical consumption, and because it's an IO, every colony is a foundry, and foundry means they're going to make more garage instead of the habitat, and garage consumes fuel and power. That is why we're seeing high increase in power price and high increase in fuel price. So right now the chemical market is going to be important very soon, when this carbon gets under control, that is.
And we're starting to see patents come out, and Bob Rooney just got superconductor, which, considering how low power is not that useful. It doubles the ability, the power generated adjacent to your base.
Yeah.
But if power is that cheap, it just doesn't matter that much.
Yeah, superconductor is a nice tool to have in one's pocket, but the timing might not be good in this case.
Ooh, and there comes that one of those underground nukes. Now what you'll notice here is it went on to a former medium that's now a trace level, because it's better to hit a medium and knock it down to trace than hit a high and knock it down to low.
However, for the moment, Evil Diablo will not have much problem in terms of carbon supply, because he does have enough near in this creator, so he can rotate the Yuke tile into something else and get into more carbon in other tiles. But still, that's that. This is going to be a painful break market. especially when carbon is high like this. Thinking
Now-
machines goes to Ryak. It should protect lots of tiles for Ryak.
The black market is open for business.
Yes. It black market effects that happen on tiles adjacent to your base have 50% reduction in time or repair costs if they're blown up, which is very useful. And he's just those ion collectors near
Wow.
Evil Diablo's base are just getting hit again and again and again. Because Evil Diablo is trying to go for this majority buy on Baba Rooney, but ion collectors are just generating so much money,
Yeah.
and he couldn't, and then they were off for him, so he's now having to back out of that majority buy.
I'm noticing that no one is in
New land is
optimization
available
centers.
for auction.
Metiresker is probably not in a position to get into it. And Bob Rooney was busy protecting this majority buyout. However, I would like to see optimization centers from Ryak and Evil Diablo, because these prices are high enough to get into 2 or maybe more optimizations temporarily. A tile auction. It might
And
not
it
be
is
too interesting tile in terms of the colony effects. However, it is still a tile where you can just put an optimization center on it and make lots of value out of it.
or a hacker array, because it's actually sitting next to 2 garages, which will give a, in combination, a 10% boost to hacks. So there are certainly markets on IO that are vulnerable to that.
The black market is online.
So I think we should comment about Metiresker's stagnant situation. While this mutiny war is still going on this expensive fuel market, which is now crashing down hard. I think what happened to Metiresker was that the expensive electronics was a problem for Metiresker to upgrade, and then Metiresker was not in a good profitable markets, so they did not make much money.
An expansive
So
HQ
Evil Diablo
has
is
been
taking
upgraded.
advantage of this low profit situation and is switching his money into majority buyout of Metiresker. This stuff will take a long time to become effective. However, it does boost Evil Diablo's stock price. So we'll see if it was worth it or not.
And so Rag here is recognizing how much stock Evil Diablo has, makes him the target, and is trying to get stock in Evil Diablo while he's cheaper.
Okay, one thing I just noticed is that while fuel was crashing and crashed down to $4, Ryak bought out 500 of them. It should be good value because fuel and power always rises, goes up and down in offer trading company and on IO. However, I'd like to see more of this action coming on this cheap carbon, cheap silicon. I'd like to see more optimization centers from all players.
And I'm hoping Baba Rooney had the perpetual motion patent queued up, considering power's creeped up to 100 again, making your... But no, he scraps out of his patent lab before he can do that.
However, being in the superconductor means they can just build 2 nuclear plants and not worry about power anymore. Or the water processor can support themselves, the base consumption of the power.
The black market is open for
And-
business.
So what you'll also notice, I'm looking at the Madagascar sub over on its eastern base, is it's now moving into water processors on its silicon tiles. And even though those are the building resources for that found, sometimes you've even got to go over your building resources with things that are much more profitable.
Improving everything.
Okay, let's see optimizations. Babruni has started optimizing queued full optimizations. Ryak is optimizing water and chemical. I like the chemical optimization here because it's the colony consumption. And people just started optimizing, so chemical will be important. And soon after, electronics will also be a good market to be in. Evil Diablo is also in the same market, but in food, and chemical food is also a good market to be in. Ryak's food is supported by Rina's farm, synthetic meat, and Evil Diablo's farm are supported by the optimizations.
Now, Evil Diablo there was in C debt for a while, or sorry, D debt for a while. And the important thing to note is when you're in D debt, you do not have access to all the fun tools that are available in the black market.
Sold.
So, and considering scavengers get faster access to that black market, paying down some of his debt to get back into C debt so he can start accessing those tools again.
The black
is probably
market
something
is online.
Look at this aluminium price because Babruni has
to
built
improve.
an
The hacker array is
elevator.
finished.
Aluminium
Time to
is
change our
just rising.
passwords.
While the
Optimization
launch is
routine
not
successful.
fantastic, 31k per launch, it can be a good building unless if everyone ignores it. However, I would like to see more optimizations into a good market that is priced above 200. Like electronics, chemicals, food, good. However, in the long term,
The space
fuel
elevator
optimization
is
and
complete. Watch our
space
profits
elevator
climb.
might also be
Engineers
good.
have advanced our production.
But now he's built it, and he didn't have a launch queued. So the thing you can do while you have an elevator under construction is you can hold shift and click what you want to launch, and that means that you'll continually auto launch that. So make sure you have that queued, because any second wasted, sometimes it comes down to a few seconds between off-world launches.
Our methods continue to improve.
And every second wasted is painful.
Okay, right now there are
Optimization
quite
routine
close race
successful.
between Evil Diablo and Ryak in the buying into each other. Ryak needs 300k and more to finish Evil Diablo, and Evil Diablo will need 150k to finish Ryak. So Evil Diablo does have the advantage in terms of money needed, and Ryak has advantage in terms of the production, although it is not too comparably great compared to Evil Diablo.
The optimization center is
So
online.
unless big thing
Let the
happens,
planned
I think Evil
obsolescence
Diablo
begin.
will be able to finish the buy, but you never know. Okay, Sulfur Frost coming in 60 seconds, but it's probably not going to be a big factor because everyone except for Madagascar is at HQ 5.
Well, that was a very nice nuke onto Evil Diablo's high carbon, knocked it down to low, so it's now in a bit of a painful situation there, where, especially considering the price of carbon.
So we're at 86%, 74%.
Now, I like what Baba Rooney
engineers have
here is
advanced our
doing,
production.
buying into the Matty Raskar sub, because it boosts his stock price. He's got all of his stock held, and then it also gives him a small stream of money.
I think in this case, everyone should preserve their money to finish the buy as fast as possible. So a buy into Metaresker could have been a good long-term investment, but Metaresker is not producing much money. So this could have gone wrong if Evil Diablo invested heavily into Metaresker.
Oh, I wasn't saying for Evil Diablo or anyone else, but for Baba Rooney, who had already bought up all his stock.
Then it would be okay.
Because it boosts his stock price, yeah. So
Our
Ryak and Evil Diablo are
improve.
locked in a
Your stock
fight
is
to
being
death.
sold.
Oh, Evil Diablo is
Opportunity
backing
is
out.
successful.
Evil Diablo had 100% on Ryak. However, if Evil Diablo is getting into Ryak again,
I think he held down the wrong button.
maybe.
Because while Baba Rooney is doing well, Ryak as a sub would be doing very well.
Yeah.
And it also gets Evil Diablo all his stock back. And now Baba Rooney has to pay through double 68 per share stock, which is just going to be a monumental kind of climb.
Yeah. At this point, I don't think there's chance for Bob Rooney to finish the buy on Evil Diablo. So we are waiting game here.
Well, Baba Rooney has more optimizations than Evil Diablo. It's 13 to his 5. So it will really depend on how good the Ryak sub is.
Mm-hmm. Evil Diablo will need 600k, Bob Rooney will need 800k.
The engineers have advanced our
Evil
production.
Diablo has it.
Probably. Baba Rooney's now trying to sell out of his stock to get more cash
The black market is open for business.
by Evil
Our
Diablo.
methods continue to improve.
And Baba Rooney's just dropped to D+1 debt. So that's hurting his stock price, making things easier for Evil Diablo. Not much you can necessarily do about it at this point, because if you shove your money into paying off your debt, then you don't have that money to buy out your opponent.
Mm-hmm. I think what went wrong with the race between Ryak and Evil Diablo was that Ryak was inefficient production. Like Ryak had 2 iron collectors up here, 2 iron collectors staying here forever. It could have been triple chem refinery down below and triple of iron collectors somewhere else. And it would have made more efficient production, and also in this tile where the 4 electronics factories are, it was also 2 double instead of a diamond or a triangle. So that kind of little difference made some differences in the production, and also rotating in and out of profitable markets also mattered in this game, and Evil Diablo was in the right market most of the time.
Yes.
The black
Soft
market
World
is
is a game
online.
of profit. Here, and right now, what is making the key difference here for Evil Diablo is the Ryak sub is generating nearly 200 per share per second for Evil Diablo. So that's $2,000 a second that's just pouring into Evil Diablo's coffers.
While we're waiting for the buy to happen, what do you think about Evil Diablo buying into majority buyout in the Matryoshka? Matryoshka is still at HQ3, not producing much, like
Optimization routine successful.
$200 per second for Evil Diablo. And Evil Diablo invested like 60, 70k for the majority buyout, 80, 60, 80.
I was not a huge fan of that. You just let Matty Raskar sit there and spin his wheels, because he's not going to be a good sub, and so that just makes it so it's not necessarily the best use of your cash, because if he had gotten into Ryak earlier and gotten Ryak taken care of, then he could have probably cleaned this game up quicker. But it's hard to ignore someone who's in deep trouble, who you can just snag up. It did help his stock price, and he got the buy before Ryak was able to do most of the buy into his stock. Perhaps he should, if he was going to sink that money in, just sink it into himself, because he can then later sell that, so it's hidden cash you have,
I guess
rather than buy out.
I guess it kind of worked out, because I don't think Evil Diablo invested more than 100k for the buy, and because of the stocks in the Matryoshka, Evil Diablo stock price was about $10 more expensive than Ryak's. So because of the difference, Ryak had to pay 100k more than Evil Diablo did. So I guess it went fairly okay for Evil Diablo. Evil Diablo did not make money from this sub, but it forced Ryak to pay more to finish buying Evil Diablo.
And that bought him the crucial seconds he needed to complete the buy on Ryak. So well done to Evil Diablo. Definitely moving around in those markets and surviving the nuked out scavenger.
Yeah, the nuke was not as effective as it could have been, because while there are underground nukes, Evil Diablo can just core sample other tiles and switch to production. And you get 2 of the core sample per one purchase.
Yes, and Evil Diablo did buy one set of core samples, and so did Bob Maroney. However, from what it looks like, Evil Diablo came up a bit short on what he found, because he's only on lows at the end of the game. But that's sometimes the risk you take with those core samples.
Okay, so this was the last game of this week. No, not this week. Last game of today. And we'll play to Evil Diablo as a scavenger, getting an early lead, getting into the right market, and getting into the right target. And he made into a victory.